Ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth, my friend. Let them know what they're in for today.
Oh, we got a wild show today for you. We got some wild stories out of the, Shador, Bledsoe, 80, Cowboys, Chiefs. I mean, where do you want to start? Plus, the Lakers were sold yesterday. We could talk about the Dodgers national anthem singer. We've got a jam-packed show. We'll get into all sorts of stuff. Text or call in anytime at 661-842-2000. Plus, in the second hour, we'll get down the summer movie list with our boy Hop. And then at 8:30, we'll have snacks. Upcoming referee, we'll hear some updated news on that front. Plus, we'll talk about the NBA Finals. Can't forget about that. Game 6 is tonight.
And potentially wrapping up the entire dang thing will be the Thunder, who lead 3-2, and will be playing this game in in Indiana. I apologize.
It's over.
That's what people keep saying. Tyrese Halliburton's injury status is still up in the air. We will find out how serious it is by game time, says Coach Rick Carlisle, which means it's probably more serious than they want to admit, which means you're not getting a nearly, 80% Tyrese Halliburton.
And that's what they need.
I know. And so at this point right now, I would probably have to say the Thunder will most likely wrap it up tonight in this game. But
and see, all the shows I heard on ESPN yesterday and
everybody's hoping it
is all Pacers.
Well, because
they
again,
all say Pacers with or without Halliburton.
Everybody is saying that they're going to lean on they haven't lost twice in a row since March. And I was like, or I think May or whatever.
5-0 in game 6s since 2015 and blah, 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 blah.
I totally get that.
It's not going to happen.
But yeah, this is a completely different team they're going up against. And also, I got to say this just to defend him a little bit because no one else is. ESPN, let's take some better pictures of my boy Jalen Williams, please. Some of these that y'all have been putting up have been awful. I mean, oh my God, these are terrible timing. What is happening with these pictures? Can we please clean it up for my boy? He dropped a 40 piece in the last game, and we get just ugly pictures of him with his mouth out, just looking like dumb.
Special
I'm like,
ed.
dude, come on. You can't get a good picture. Whatever. It is what it is.
But before we get into the Lakers sell, some news broke this morning that the 5-time All-Pro linebacker C.J. Mosley has retired from the NFL
after 10 seasons.
On his 33rd birthday. He has been a free agent after the Jets released him at the start of the league year on March 12th, and he took it this morning on his birthday to say, no, I'm done.
Good for you. I mean, honestly, long career. It was a solid career. I still say he should have never left Baltimore, but Baltimore moved on from him very quickly when the Raekwon Smith situation kind of opened up, and they found some other pieces, Patrick Quinn, which they also let go, unfortunately. But it was just one of those situations where you kind of hoped for the best. He went to the Jets, and like you said before the show started, that's kind of what you get when you play for the Jets for a couple of years. It's a very accelerated career.
When the Jets cut you,
maybe you're contemplating where you're going to go with the rest of your life. Who knows?
But the Bus family.
Yeah, we got to talk about this because this is arguably the craziest story out of yesterday. The Lakers have been sold to Mark Walter, Is he majority owner of the Dodgers?
Yes.
I remember he owns partial of the Dodgers, the Sparks. He owns a women's hockey league, F1 team.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
This dude owns LA at this point, and with this acquisition for 10
I heard something
billion.
About the Warriors too.
No, he doesn't own the Warriors.
A stake.
He probably has a stake in the Warriors.
He doesn't own them.
He doesn't own them, or is not majority owner. But this again.
I didn't know you could have stakes in multiple teams.
I believe you can, as long as you're not majority owner of both teams. You know what I mean? But again,
sense.
I don't know legalities of ownership of the NBA. But
money's money.
At this point, this dude, again, he is now 25% ownership of the Lakers, making him the majority owner. The Buss family will hold on to, I believe, 15%, if I'm not mistaken. And Jeannie Buss will continue to be the governor of the team for the foreseeable future. I don't think that's ever going to change. I think Jeannie still wants, much like Mark Cuban, still wants at least a little bit of some control of the team. But as we saw with with the Dallas Mavericks this year, Mark Cuban wasn't consulted when it came to the Luka trade. So is Jeannie Buss going to be consulted in terms of the Luka trade? Because let's be honest here, this could also mean Luka might be out of the entire idea of what he has going, unless Walter wants to keep going with him. But again, that's up in the air still. Is this going to affect your relationship with LeBron? Because let's be honest, LeBron is very close with the Buss family, and I don't know exactly how he's going to feel about the sale. So, but again, we were talking about LeBron only having maybe 1 to 2 years, so maybe they aren't even considering any of this at this point and are just hoping that this sale kind of thwarts them. In my personal opinion, just kind of throw a little salt on the wound here. I think they wanted to sell just to say they were worth more than the Celtics.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, when they bought him, when Jerry bought him, they were $67.5 million.
Yep.
And to turn around
into $10 billion.
To $10 billion. Yeah. Mark Cuban sold the Mavs for $3.5 billion in 23. The Celtics you brought up sold for $6.1 billion 3 months ago. And
so yeah, to say you were $3.9 billion more than the Boston Celtics, you can't sit there and tell me that wasn't part of the plan there.
I was wondering the same thing when it came to the Lakers. I mean, supposedly in the story, I mean, it's still the early infancy,
it's still early stages.
But they said that nothing will change with the Lakers. But when you have a new ownership, of course they're going to come in and put their footprint on something.
Here's the thing, though, because again, we have to take into account that this isn't a new owner. Mark Walter, like we said, has multiple stakes in multiple different teams and leagues in sports. He's a sports fan, and honestly, I don't expect him to come in and shake up anything. I'm not sitting here thinking that he's going to come in and trade everybody away. But now that the Buss family doesn't have majority stake in the team for the first time in 5 decades, that this is just going to be a little bit of a change of pace. Jeannie's going to have to understand as well at some point during this that you are no longer majority owner. So there's going to be situations where she's not going to be consulted, much like Cuban wasn't consulted for a lot of things in Dallas this year. So like that's where I'm kind of thinking is I don't think that this is going to be a shakeup in terms of he's going to come in and change everything. He's going to take out what the Buss family has done to make the Lakers Showtime Lakers. I think it's more there's going to be something that comes down the line that Jeannie's not going to like.
Of course.
And the fan base is most likely going to lean with Jeannie Buss because of the long-standing relationship between her family and the fans. However, you have to take into account she's no longer majority owner.
Yep.
So what she says really doesn't matter unless she can get the rest of the board on her side. So,
I mean, speaking of Showtime, Magic came out and was saying, he's a business partner of Walter's,
right?
And said he was ecstatic and called Walter the best caretaker of the Lakers brand. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect anyone to come in and try to shake up. But that, like you said, there's going to be things that come up that the Buss family probably wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the Buss family, but that's just, I pretty much, I mean, you said it. He's pretty much the king of LA right now.
Yeah.
And what he's done with the Dodgers. And I mean, just luckily the NBA has a salary cap, or we would be looking at the Dodgers in basketball. So
that would be incredible. Not incredible, but like how he would go about changing basketball salary cap would be insane, especially with how much money these guys make right now. But again, I am more impressed that this man, who is the CEO of TWG Global, it's just a diversified company that does a whole bunch of different stuff. It's impressive to me that this man literally owns sports in LA now. You cannot go to a single sporting event in LA that this man probably does not have a hand in, unless maybe it's WWE or somebody coming in. But even then, you're using his monikers most of the time, or his not monikers. I'm sorry, his locations outside of Inuit Dome.
I didn't know there was women's hockey. when I was doing the research, and the business he's a part of, the CEO of, is worth $325 billion.
Mhm,
So this is chump change.
mhm.
I'm like, what? We could pick up the Lakers? Yeah, sure.
He
Let's do it.
literally just paid for the Lakers with a $10 bill.
Yes.
Think about that for a second. He literally just pulled out a $10 bill out of his wallet and said, "Oh, here, Genie, like,
What?
go
You
buy
want to sell the
yourself some
Lakers?
ice cream." Like,
I
what?
mean,
To have this kind of money is absurd.
well, I mean, what do you think came with the bus just selling it? You just think it was time? I mean, they've owned them since like 79, 78.
I think it has to do with that. I think Jeannie Buss is probably thinking about her own retirement and post, basketball life at some point as well along this. I don't think she'll ever fully leave,
Yeah.
but she'll most likely want to step down from at least the high responsibility positions in the next couple years. So you have to take that into account. And we've already seen that her brother can't handle it. So being from a family that kind of had something similar happen where we just didn't know where the company was going to go, may it just when an opportunity presents itself, take it. You know what I mean? Like your dad did what he did with this situation. He created the Showtime Lakers and the absolute dynasty that we know it to be today. And you, as a organizer, have done a great job of sustaining that since he passed. But I think that it was just time. I think it's not a bad look at all. I mean, you look at the move away from Staples to crypto. I mean, the Lakers aren't the same Lakers. And moving forward into the future, I think she was just looking out for the best interest of not only the team and the brand, but herself and her family. So I can't blame her for this at all. Plus, $10 billion.
Yeah. Who's going to say no to that?
$10 billion. And you still own 15%. She didn't get rid of everything. She still has a stake in the team, which means they still make money off the Lakers.
Of course. They want them to
This
succeed.
is a win-win.
Yeah.
Well, in a business sense, this is a win-win.
Yeah.
In a sense of like fan base and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot of scornful fans that aren't going to be happy about this, especially Angels fans. But it's gonna like gloss over itself eventually. It's not that big of a deal. You're gonna move on.
Our first text was saying the sell of the Lakers is cool. Means bigger checkbooks than anyone in the league should bring, or will bring a championship, and don't count out by the time season starts that Jamie is out of a job as president, which I don't see happening. I think that was one of the key points of her selling, is that she keeps her job.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Again,
I mean, maybe with the checkbook, I just don't think how the NBA is way different than how baseball's financial.
yeah, no, and that's kind of the thing. Bigger checkbook, not necessarily
Maybe
the
to the arena, but
There's
it's new.
there's still a cap salary. You can't just go out and buy people, although there is penalties that you can obviously buy.
Mhm.
But as it has been proven as well in basketball, buying championships doesn't work. It doesn't. You have to build around people. And honestly, it's just the Lakers know that. I think Mark knows that. It's not like baseball where you can go and, like Sparky said, pay Shohei $10 billion for the rest of his life.
That was the funniest meme yesterday I saw with the Ohtani shooting a free throw.
Yeah.
And he said anything for LeBron, huh?
Well, again, I think it's going to be more interesting at the partnerships you're now going to get between the Lakers and the Dodgers. It is now going to be anytime there is a chance they are going to mix the two. You're going to get Dodger colored Laker jerseys and you're going to get Laker colored Dodger jerseys. You're going to get Shohei basketball jerseys. You're going to get Luka baseball jerseys. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be interesting little collabs that we're going to see come out of this as well, that honestly LA fans are going to eat up. So the business opportunities that are going to come from this are well going to exceed the $10 billion price tag that he just
jersey sales, just the yellow and purple Dodger jerseys. Ugh.
I mean, again, they've done it in the past, but just the fact that this is now a more open situation because obviously the owner's the same guy, it's going to make it even better. And to be honest, if you're a Laker fan, you got to be at least somewhat excited for this because the last couple years of success for the Dodgers behind Walter's moves and stuff like that, you have to at least be excited that is probably going to transition into the Lakers, or at least the mindset of it.
I mean, Walter's been with the Dodgers for 12 years. They've got 2 World Series and 11 division titles.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to be happy.
If not that he is the one making all the moves and stuff like that, but he has to have a stake in what is going on, which means he's at least part of the decision making. So I would say if you're a Laker fan, take this as a good thing. You didn't lose the Bus family. They're still there. And you got a guy coming in that's just going to have the right mindset for championships for you going forward. So
I'm just glad he's a sports fan.
yes,
You know, it's not like the other
that is
billionaires
core.
that just buy teams, Dolphins, Stephen Ross.
Mm.
But we'll take a break. We'll get into these crazy criminal stories that busted out yesterday right here on the Early Bird Special. ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burke. That is Sparky. We just got a slew of crazy stories we're going to run down for you guys right now and just give our comments on everything. Before we get to Shador and everything else, I have to point this one out that just broke this morning as well before it gets too stale. Ace Bailey, the potential number 3 overall pick in the NBA draft next week, said no to the 76ers.
Let's visit.
Who are the number 3 overall pick in the draft. So from what I understand, the relationship isn't necessarily soured. The 76ers are still looking potentially to draft him, even though he doesn't necessarily want to play there. The camp from Ace Bailey is claiming that they want to set up Ace in the right situation for stardom, essentially. They know that he is in the top 3 of this draft, but they want him to go to a team that is going to be a better fit for him, to get him the minutes and whatnot that he needs to actually play and become better and actually become a star in the NBA in their eyes, which, from what I understand, are the teams that he is looking at would be the Wizards, Pelicans, or Nets, who sit at 6, 7, and 8, who they expect to jump up in next week's draft to potentially draft Ace Bailey at number 3. I just think this is kind of interesting because from what I also understand is that he hasn't visited anybody. He hasn't gone anywhere or gone to see anybody. So how do you know those are the teams that fit best for you? One. And two, does this not kind of scream like immaturity to anybody else? Like, I get that you want to set yourself up for success, and where you are drafted is definitely a big part in that. But I don't know. We hear football players do this all the time, though. So maybe I'm just being,
Maybe his agent's telling him something.
yeah, maybe it's just me thinking one way or the other. But
Maybe we want to drop you a couple spots.
What do you think, though? I was like, does this kind of look good for the young kid coming out of Rutgers?
No, it definitely doesn't look good. I mean, when you're that young and you're haven't proven anything in a professional sport, I mean, the draft is next week and you're turning down visits. That's probably not a good look, unless, like I said, his agent is telling him, like, maybe we want you to slide a couple spots and land in a better position. But we'll see. We'll get into our NBA draft mocks next week as it is coming up. And just to keep it in the NBA before we talk Shedeur, former NBA guard Eric Bledsoe was arrested yesterday on felony domestic violence charges.
Boy.
After allegedly striking a woman at a LA area gas station.
You know, wiser people than I have said this, but if they do that in public, what would they do in private? And that's just really ugly look. I haven't seen the video or anything, but striking.
I saw the pictures, but I saw CHP responded to a domestic violence report on the 101 around 2:30 in the morning, where they found Bledsoe and a woman with bruising and swelling to her face. Of course, she said he had hit her, and he was arrested on a $50K bail. Now, Bledsoe was arrested in a similar charge in 2022, but later files were dropped after they mentioned that the plaintiff, her story was bouncing all over the place, and he got off. So,
well, he's not going to get off this one, not with pictures.
Not with this one, not pictures, and not, the cops seeing the lady's face. So it's just another one. But going into some other crime stories, hopefully, everything gets handled in court. And I mean, if he's beating up women, he deserves to spend some time
absolutely
behind bars. But Grizzlies, Zach Edey, I guess this story was in May, but we're a little bit late to the party because they're barely reporting it, was pulled over and clocked going 101 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone on May 1st. And now his court date is coming up on June 23rd, which the same speed broke out in a different story yesterday. But this one was with Brown's recent rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, going 101 miles per hour.
We were just singing this kid's praises.
Right?
We were just saying how awesome it was that he was showing out at camp and doing a great job. Why? Okay. And I'm glad that both of these broke out yesterday, because another big story broke out last week when Henry Ruggs went out and openly apologized to the family of the person that he killed in his situation. Can we not learn from Henry Ruggs' entire story here? Like, he was going 150 in Vegas for whatever dang reason. Don't get me started on that. But to have two young athletes, both who need to look good next year, to be honest with you, because Zach Edey, being this rookie he was this year, was solid, but he's still not a starting center, in my opinion, in the NBA. And Shedeur Sanders is Shedeur Sanders. You're under the limelight regardless. But to both get clocked at 101 miles an hour, what is up with people going 100 miles an hour in a car on a street? Like there are places in Vegas for that you can easily get to. Like there are probably places around the world that you can get to that can do that for you. I don't understand why people insist on doing this on the streets. I really don't get it, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's just a dumbass. I mean, if I understand you're living your best life and you just got drafted and
I get it, young,
but
dumb, and have a lot of money, but
just
that's no
learn from others'
excuse.
mistakes. You just brought up the Ruggs deal. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, he was going 101, and now he's looking either a $250 fine,
Only
or
$250.
exactly, or he can fight the traffic ticket in Mayor's Court on July 3rd. But $250 for a guy that's going 101 miles per hour, that seems a little bit lenient.
Yeah,
Especially when
maybe it's just California rates, but like I'm pretty sure here it's probably 400 just for going through a red light.
exactly. So
Like,
I
how
don't
is
know
it
if the
only
Ohio's different.
$250 to go 100 miles an hour? Shoot, I'll pay $250. No wonder you got people out there going that fast.
It seems like a little slap on the wrist.
This is so
I mean, if he would have just been on a different street and a victim was hit in a
right.
car accident,
Would it
be $1,000 fine? I
at
mean,
this point?
what the hell?
But I mean, again, it's just dumb situations that they really shouldn't be putting themselves in. And honestly, especially after hearing, and I know we keep bouncing around on stories. I told you we were going to do this during this part
It's
of
wild.
it, but it is crazy to me that all of these are popping up. And then we get the story about the Orioles minor leaguer that died in a jet ski accident with a lot of his teammates at the location when it happened, where he hit somebody head on with a jet ski. Like, where is the I really don't get. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase this. I understand why professional contracts have these kind of things put in as clauses to stop athletes from doing dumb stuff. Because for some reason, when you put a lot of money in the pocket of anybody, we just want to do dumb stuff with it. And it just doesn't make sense to me. But obviously, I'm not somebody who's getting paid millions upon millions of dollars. So maybe if I was, I'd be thinking differently about this. But like you, Sparky, I understand wanting to go out and have a good time with your life and whatnot. But in these types of situations, it's never a good thing. You're going 100 miles an hour in a situation where there's other people potentially around you, and you're not just affecting you. Like I said, take the stories of Henry Ruggs and Paul Walker and other situations like that. It could go really, really south really, really quickly. And then all of those millions upon millions of dollars you just got paid go away forever.
Why is he even driving?
That's what I'm saying. That's the other thing. I was like, you guys have enough money to pay for drivers. Pay for a driver, especially Shador. You would assume that he's used to that kind of treatment by now.
I would, especially after this one. I'm like, you better watch your butt.
Oh, if I'm Dion, I'm looking at him and say, you ain't driving nothing.
Dion is going to get a piece
you
of that.
You ain't driving a dang vehicle for the rest of your career, boy. Like, you are getting a driver, or you're going to be like Kobe taking a helicopter.
But before we get into our break and go into the Chiefs and Cowboys cheerleader story, you did mention that Ruggs came out and apologized, and he also mentioned that he would love to get back into the league after he finishes his time. He says he understands it's going to be a little difficult, as specifically because the family of the victim that passed would be, if we would have to see him on TV every Sunday or Monday. But he did mention that he would love to reunite with the Raiders. He just wants another chance after he serves his time. And he brings up the Michael Vick thing, which is totally a different type of story when you're talking about.
At least you're asking the right team, though.
Driving 156 miles per hour. But it's just insane.
It is a long shot for Henry Ruggs to get back into the league after his sentence. And let's be honest, he's serving a 3 to 10 year. So it depends where he's getting out in that 3 to 10 year.
And that still seems like a small
it does
amount.
But again, going 100 plus 150 plus and taking somebody out is way beyond that. I think you're right, though, when you say that the family has to sit there and watch you on television every Sunday. I don't see that happening. I don't either. I don't see you getting back in the league just solely because of that fact alone. The league would not allow you to come back in fully knowing that they would potentially have a lawsuit at some point brewing. And I don't know, like we've seen guys get dropped out of the league for situations like that. And I just can't see Henry Ruggs being the exception. Like it just no, it can't be that way. And like you said, I know he's comparing it to Michael. That is a completely different situation. Michael Vick was dogfighting, homie.
Yeah.
You killed someone. Like Ray Lewis, you might be able to get away with if he had gotten actually put away for murder, but he didn't, and he was acquitted for all of that. So that's also a different situation. So you are a unique situation that I don't think you can really compare to anybody. And to sit there and say, well, I would love to like I would love to see you in some facet come back into the game, not as a player though.
Yeah, maybe a wide receiver coach.
Yeah, I could see you as a coach or like maybe like just a spokesman for the league or something like that. Like they do something that in turn like
Something
connects
positive.
you to the team.
Yeah.
But as a player, no way.
I don't
No
see it
way in
happening.
hell.
But we'll get into the Chiefs story as they're getting sued again, and the Cowboys cheerleaders right after this break. The early bird special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And going from one $10 billion team to another, the Dallas Cowboys have decided that they are going to pay their cheerleaders 400 times what they had been making previously. Yes, you heard me correctly. 400 times. Now, granted, from what I understand from this story, the cheerleaders were paying or getting paid $400 a game. So now they're upping them to $1,600 a game, which honestly, when you really think about it, like that's chump change for what you would expect these women to be making. But
especially, I mean, that when you think of football cheerleaders, the
all you
first
think
one
is the
is
Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys. And when I was reading the story, I guess they even bumped it. They doubled their paying in 2019 because all the way up until then it was $200 a game.
Yeah, and they had lost a lawsuit and then had to bump it up to 400.
We'll give you 400. Just shut up. And
that's what I'm saying. Like Jerry, like $400 a game, and these women pull in so much money for you. Like that is,
I'm sure they made more than that in their Netflix show.
There are some. Oh, absolutely, because that's actually where this comes from. Apparently, that's
it?
Yeah, that's where the they source this. Is that one of the cheerleaders in that Netflix show in the season 2 has said that they're going to get paid 400 times what they were getting paid, which is again life-changing money for these women. Absolutely, but it just goes to show that like there's a lot of situations in sports where just head scratching why these people aren't getting paid the money they should be. Like you're going to sit there and tell me that these women are worth $400 a game and they probably rake in what, $1 million a piece? Like, nah.
And don't forget, just a couple years ago, they had to pay $2.4 million to a PR, which they were sued because they found a staff member that was filming the Cowboys cheerleaders in their dressing room. So, I mean, geez Louise.
And again, well, that guy, technically, he was acquitted. They said they found no evidence of wrongdoing.
They paid him off.
Yeah. I call super shenanigans.
This is crazy.
It's just, this entire.
You make more at McDonald's.
Well, again, $400 a game. I haven't exactly done the math on how much that maths out to now.
But I hope that means that they're still paying, with practice. I mean, it's not just they just show up on Sundays and they're
17 games now, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
so half of them are home games.
So they would make $27,000 in the season if they don't go to the playoffs. Because I'm sure if they go to the playoffs, obviously you get paid for those games as well.
And I wonder if they got paid for like side projects. I'm sure like when they go to, the hospitals and, PR stuff that they do for the team, because it's not just like the Jaguars cheerleaders. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Right. Well, and again, before this move, they were making about $6,000 a season. Because remember, we were only at 16 games at one point, and actually shorter than that.
Yeah.
So if you're only getting paid $400 a game, you're maybe making $5,000. That if $6,000, that's ridiculous for somebody that's trying to be essentially the closest thing to a professional cheerleader that you could be in the NFL. I can't speak for that in the NBA and stuff, but in the NFL for sure. And it's like like you said, this is usually where you look at being like the high stakes. Like you would assume the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders were the ones getting paid the most.
Now I'm starting to wonder if they're the highest paid cheerleaders.
I'd probably, if they're not, I'd be surprised. Because again, that's why I'm just like,
wondering if that's the going rate.
It
was like $400.
If you're, because I'm not gonna lie to you, if I know somebody that's a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader and she's getting paid less than a Raiderette, I'd be mad at that.
Yeah.
Are we serious? You're gonna sit there and tell me the Raiderettes are more appealing than the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders?
You're like, what do the Laker girls make?
Exactly. So it's like that's just the wild part to me, is that it's now I applaud them obviously for getting their money and life-changing money at that, because $1,600 a game is well better than $400 a game.
Yeah.
But I'm still scratching my head at Jerry. Like, really, dude? You couldn't fork over $25,000 to pay your cheerleaders? Like that. And I mean, again, that's one cheerleader a piece, and there's probably like a dozen of them.
Probably at least
somewhere in that area. So yeah, it's like probably closer to $250,000 for your cheerleaders.
I'd be looking at like, okay, well, I'm a gymnast. I could dance. I could do this. I'm looking at, I just saw people like Tiffy's.
Right.
maybe I'll take wrestling and maybe I'll find out how to take these hits and think about what
you're
I can
tough
do in the
enough-
off season. Exactly.
If you're tough
In
enough,
which I'm going to throw out. I just found out that LFG starts again this Sunday.
is it this Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Season
sweet.
2.
I
I
have
was,
something to watch
like,
this weekend.
finally.
I have something to watch this weekend.
But keeping it in these wild and crazy stories, a former Chiefs director of player engagement, Ramsey Robinson, is now suing the Chiefs for wrongful termination and racial discrimination.
Former defensive back in the league too. Never
Yeah,
played
Mr.
for the
Irrelevant.
Yeah, technically. This one scratches my head as well because you're really suing the NFL for racial discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
The league that is 75% to 80% African American.
Well, when it comes to
Like-
money, it says that he was making 125 grand,
By
which
the
is
Chi- yeah.
half of what the Cowboys cheerleaders would make. I'm just saying. But the research shows with that same position, the average is around a little over 170K. So he's also, in the lawsuit alleges the Chiefs are paying black employees less than white counterparts.
See, this is why obviously he's referring to his job not as a defensive back. He's talking about his player development job that he's been with the Chiefs for the last couple of years. I believe it's been about 9 seasons. And I could see that point in law enforcement wise why that would be racial discrimination. So I could see where his lawsuit would be at least have some legs, but it's still just like the way that you balance the way that you present this just doesn't make sense. One, you need to, I don't know, maybe this is just ESPN needing to clean up the headlines, but it just saying a former defensive back is suing the NFL for racial discrimination makes it sound like he got fired from his job as a defensive back for being African American, which makes no sense at all. But if it's something along the lines of I was part of the player developmental stuff, I was getting paid $50,000 less than everybody else. Okay, I could see your lawsuit. I totally understand that one. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he has some legs on this one?
No.
No.
All
right. Well, I mean, why not?
I mean, unless he's got some proof. I guess when you get deeper into the story, he says that that it was something that was filmed and that they have no proof.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Chiefs came out and responded yesterday. And said,
true. Yeah, we should set that part of the table too. He wasn't fired because of anything he did like work-wise. Apparently there was an altercation that happened that a female employee of the Chiefs was claiming that he assaulted her. So, and he asked to see the security footage of said assault. They refused to show it to him. So it is kind of fishy in that. And
that's where he's got his legs. He's like, screw it, I'll sue you.
Exactly.
Show me the tape.
The wrongful termination, totally get. But racial discrimination is a completely different ball game, in my opinion. But
the Chiefs came out yesterday and said they look forward to the facts of this case coming to light.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know if anything changes. And while we're talking the NFL, I got to throw this out because we brought up the CJ Mosley retirement. And we previewed yesterday that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson was pushing to get Alexander, who was recently released from the Packers. And right after the show, of course, he signs with Baltimore. And we had another Ravens fan that texted in that said, I'm a Ravens fan too. And did you guys forget that the Ravens picked up DeAndre Hopkins this offseason? I think our wide receiver room looks just fine.
You know what? I did forget that you guys
and
picked
Buffalo
up DeAndre.
is the
I'm not
team.
gonna lie to you.
Buffalo is the team that needs to worry about receivers.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
I have to give you props because
I totally forgot you guys picked up.
He bounces around so much, I didn't even know what team he was on.
You know what? Yeah, that's on me too. I should have a little bit more homework on that. But honestly, you are absolutely correct. That fills the need that I've been griping about. So I will concede, good sir. Well done. I did totally. Yeah, you got me on that one. I totally forgot you guys picked up.
If you want an early bird special shirt, just text back in. I'll hook you up. And then before we go to break, because I know we've got some other stuff we want to talk about, but for collectors like me, Tom Brady is opening up a Hall of Excellence in Las Vegas. It opens up tomorrow. And what's inside is all of Brady's Super Bowl rings, plus items from Elvis, the Beatles, Jackie Robinson's bat, Kobe's McDonald's All-Star American gear, Billie Jean King's tennis dress, Tiger's Master golf ball, Muhammad Ali's gloves. He's got a ton of stuff.
So this is all the stuff that Tom Brady has collected over the
Mhm.
years.
And he's got,
Ooh.
he's got a badass collection.
You know what's funny? And I agree with you. You know Tom Brady's got a badass collection, but you know who else has a badass collection? Logan Paul.
I bet.
Believe it or not.
I bet.
Logan Paul has a legitimately used Wayne Gretzky hockey stick that he bought. It is I just like, not to mention a whole bunch of other
Oh
sports
yeah.
memorabilia,
Pokemon card.
Pokemon cards. Like I would love to see both of those men like bar for who has better sports memorabilia.
Well,
That would be incredible.
if you're a collector, there's also a sweet show on Netflix where these millionaires go out and travel the world and go find people's, historical pieces in sports and wrestling and everything, and then they buy them off and then
Yeah.
auction them off. But there is some cool finds that you can find on that show. But yeah, it's this is the Hall of Excellence that Brady is opening up in Vegas. It's pretty much a sports memorabilia museum, and it opens up this Friday if you're around.
Awesome.
But we'll get into much more. Do you want to talk about the the Dodgers national anthem?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. And actually, I want to get your guys' opinion on this as well, because I know a lot of Dodger fans are out there. I know a lot of you are listening. So text in 661-842-2000. What do you guys think about the entire situation going on with the Dodgers and this Hispanic singer Neza and what she did the other day, singing the national anthem in Spanish? And also, I want to know, do you believe the national anthem should only be sung in English? This is a valid question that I think that everybody should be asking right now. So we'll get your guys' answers and ours on the other side of the break. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. All right, this is the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. We got one last crazy story to get to before we get to our summer movie rundown with our guy Michael Hopper. The Dodgers are in the news, and this time not for a good reason, in my opinion. But we weren't going to talk about this because it got a little political, and I didn't necessarily want to get political. We brought it up pre-show, I think, on Tuesday, but we never really got around to it. So I said, maybe it's a better idea that we didn't get to it. But because of what the Dodgers did, now it's back into the news, and now we have to talk about it because the Dodgers have decided that they have banned the national anthem singer from back on Saturday, and Miss Baby Neza, who I've never heard of in my life. The entire situation went down like this. She was supposed to sing the national anthem during the game or before the game, and they instructed her not to sing it in Spanish. Right? Like they had to be sung in English. I don't know exactly the verbiage that was said. It was along the lines of, you can't do this. Her entire plan, I believe, going into this, and I'm sure that's why it came up, was that she was planning on doing only the last segment of this in Spanish. But then because she was told that she couldn't do any of it in Spanish, she decided, all right, fine, I'm going to do all of it in Spanish. Mind you, this is all going on during the LA riots right now because of the ICE raids and stuff like that. So I assume the Dodgers are telling her this in order to stay out of a political light and stay out of the situation altogether, which I completely understand. It's sports. You don't want to be put into that limelight. And for her to do that, it probably put a really bad stink on them. Don't get me wrong. However, I do believe that there was a better way for the Dodgers to go about it, outside of what Neza told a podcast yesterday, which I'll let her say the entire spiel right now.
Did you know, like, as soon as you made that decision that you would not be welcome back at the Dodgers organization probably ever?
I was ready for anything. I knew what the vibe was instantly when I opened my eyes and I saw that she had disappeared because she was standing right by me. I felt so like icky, if that's like the good word, after that. I got out of there. What no one really knows is obviously they called us 10 seconds after it happened.
Right.
And she said, don't email us, don't call us ever again. Your clients are never welcome here ever again, to my manager. So technically that feels like a ban.
Yeah.
But there's also all these narratives going around being like, she's lying. They never told her she was banned.
Right.
But I'm like, that kind of feels like a ban.
Yeah.
So clearly the Dodgers not very happy with the move, banned her and all of the agent's clients for the rest of their lives and are no longer allowed at Dodger Stadium. That's a little excessive, in my opinion, but that's just me. One, because the vast majority of your fan base are Hispanic. And for you to alienate her and essentially make her, I mean, the villain in all of this and try to plant it that way, you could have just said, look, we appreciate her stance. That's not what the Dodgers feel. Like, we're not a part of that at all. We're trying to stay out of it. And people would have understood. But for you to go and then just, throw her to the wayside like that, I don't know. I don't think it looks good. I think it's a bad look for the organization because now you're telling every Hispanic fan, this is what we think about this situation.
Yeah, it was definitely could have handled it a bit better. We had a listener text in, says, nothing wrong with singing the national anthem in Spanish. I think people are just being sensitive about it. It doesn't make the national anthem any less great. And we have Daily Dave on the line with his 2 cents on this.
Mr. Dave, how are you?
Good morning. You guys are doing a great job. My second day listening,
Thank you, sir.
second day calling, so keep it up. I think they're going overboard. You're right. They have a big Hispanic. I mean, ever since Fernando Mania, it's just taken off. So,
well, I'm not saying they have to take a stance on any of this. You don't have to come out and say the raids are wrong or anything like that. But for them to ban her immediately after singing a legit version of the national anthem that was coined by FDR, I don't like that look because you're just telling your entire Hispanic fan base, we don't care about you. Like, we don't want to back you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a good look. And the other look that I don't like, I think they put Ohtani on the mound too soon.
Yep. Well, I've been preaching that for months, Dave. I mean,
Yeah,
you've heard me. I don't think they should have done it at all. But
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
well,
well, that bullpen has been broke.
I know, that's what I was just about to say. There's a lot of broken pitchers in there, though, Dave. I don't know if you could sit there and say that anymore.
And he
But
only
the thing
pitched an
is,
inning.
What has he done with the bat since he pitched? I don't think he's done squat.
Well, no,
He got hit by a pitch once and got a couple RBIs.
He got a walk too, but he did strike out 4 times in that game afterwards. I do understand that, but again, you have to take into account this is the first time he's pitched in over 2 years. Fatigue does factor into this, and it's baseball. Everybody goes on slumps, and I know everybody's a little superstitious in baseball, and these things happen for reasons. But I think it's just a bad look right now for him. Once you see him on the mound for more than 1-2 innings, I think everybody's mood will change in all of this.
Well, time will tell.
Absolutely.
I hope, and you're right. And I played a lot of baseball over the years and softball, fast pitch. You do go through slumps, and this could be that time. So it could be timing. I just hope that it is. Anyway, keep up the great work, guys. I'll keep listening, and have a great show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. We got to take a break real quick, pay some bills. We're going to talk summer movies on the other side of the break. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And welcome back to the Early Bird Special Hour 2. Don't sue us. It's different. It's fucking singing.
Yep.
Don't sue us. It's time to talk movies because summer movies are right around the corner, and me and Sparky are both massive movie fans. So we had to call in our guy, Michael Hopper, who knows more about what's going on in the cinema world right now than I. But, sir, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you guys for having me back on. It's always good to be back in here. It brings a tear to my eye, which rolls down my cheek and ends up on the pavement.
Absolutely. First and foremost, what's your most awaited movie of the summer, my friend? I know we're both Marvel fans, so I'm assuming.
I have tickets already for Superman and Fantastic Four. So
Do you really?
being who I am, being the perpetual 14-year-old child that I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, those are going to be box office, but I think all of this pales to what's going to happen next year.
Can you?
I think next year is going to be a massive year for box office, mainly because I think Disney, who's cleaning up this year, Disney can hem and haw about, the MCU doesn't do as good anymore and this and that, but dude, I don't know. There's a little something called Lilo and Stitch out there that just bankrupted like 3 small countries in the world because of the money it dragged in.
Right.
And so they're fine, but so far I'm looking forward to those. Let me tell you something. Something I kind of want to, before we get into the rest of the schedule here and just talking about the summer movies, Lilo and Stitch, which is just crushing at the box office, was number 1 in the box office for 3 weeks straight. Now that's hard for a movie to do in these modern times. Movies come and go very quickly. They get rid of it. One other movie was number 1 at the box office this year in 2025. One other movie was number 1 at the box office for 3 weeks straight. Can either one of you name what that movie is?
I'm going to go with them. Sinners.
No, Sinners is not correct. You're not even in the ballpark.
Okay,
I'll give
so
you
I'm
one more
assuming
guess.
This is a movie that
so
nobody would have expected. Can I get a ballpark of when it came out?
It came out earlier this year. It came out earlier this year. That's all.
There's it down.
Well,
yeah.
No, that's there down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
6 months in the year. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Oh God, I haven't seen a lot of movies this year. That's
we've seen a ton of them, so that's the one that stuck out just because it was a good movie.
Lilo and Stitch, 2 weeks running,
which is hilarious
also
because
3
all
weeks
I've
running.
heard about this movie is that it's awful and it changes everything.
Everybody I've talked to says it's fantastic.
Maybe it's just the millennials
I
that I
enjoyed
grew
it.
up with because all the millennials I know have been hating on this movie.
Yeah.
I really can't think of one. But do you have another one, Spark?
No, I've watched probably
Sinners
10 or
is the
12
only
movies.
one that
I just think Sinners is because it was probably one of the better ones I've seen.
Maybe it's recency
don't
bias,
boo-hoo for the MCU. Captain America: Brave New World was number 1 at the box office for 3 straight weeks.
I believe it.
Now it was up against garbage. Let's be clear about that.
I was just about to say there was nothing out at the time. So what else is everybody going to see?
February, right? So it was just absolute garbage. But yeah, anyway, so you got Lilo and Stitch, and that's crushing right now. Mission Impossible not doing nearly as well as they had expected, but everybody's kind of fatigued with
I was just about to say, is everybody kind of reaching the same path I am? Because at this point, they're like the Fast and the Furious of spy movies.
Yeah. I mean, you don't go to see Mission Impossible to really get engrossed in a story, right?
Yeah.
You're there to see Tom Hanks hang on an airplane.
Yeah, it's more of like a
submarine or whatever
turn your
the hell
mind off and let them go crazy.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. What else have we got? We just had movies like the Karate Kid Legends, which didn't do it nearly as well as they had expected.
Didn't expect it to.
Though, everybody I knew, did you guys see that?
No.
Are you into the Cobra Kai thing?
I loved
or all
Cobra
that?
Kai, yes, but I have yet to see this movie.
But this movie evidently blends in the Jackie Chan version with the other version, and
but see,
it didn't do nearly as well.
That is my question, though, is that because I am a fan of Cobra Kai, and I haven't actually seen every other Karate Kid movie, but where does this fall in that? Like, does it completely?
You got me.
Wipe
I never
away
kept
Cobra
up with
Kai?
Cobra Kai. I never, I
watched the original.
Cobra Kai
the
is
original,
amazing.
And I really like Karate Kid Part 2 when they went to Okinawa. I really like that movie. I think it's an underrated Karate Kid movie, but that's just me. But beyond that, I'm really not that much of a fan, so I don't know. But a movie that came out that same week, Bring Her Back. Have you seen that movie?
No.
That has to be one of the most excessively violent films I've ever seen in my entire life. As a horror fan, I was cringing and almost averted my gaze several times. Mainly because I was so disturbed by what I saw on the screen. It is seriously one of the most disturbing horror films I have ever witnessed on a screen.
It's funny you say that, because now I understand why my mom walked out. So my mom didn't know she was going to see this movie. If you keep up with Reading or all that, they do those the early screenings that they don't tell you what the movie is. You just pay $7 to go in and see it. Right?
That'd be great.
My mom loves to do that. So her and my stepdad went a couple weeks ago, and it happened to be Bring Her Back. And they went like 20 minutes into the movie, and my mom said she walked out. She said she could not do it.
She didn't even get to the good stuff.
No. So I mean, just like, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I can't say enough about.
But is it?
But it's a good film. Is it
like Terrifier, or
it's an effective movie. It's got I don't want to give away much of anything. It's got a young talent. It has what is the lead actress?
The storyline itself is very creepy for anybody who hasn't seen or heard of this movie. It's a horror film that's based on two orphans that are moving in with a new mother who has a child that apparently passed away, and that she somehow brought back with some demonic ritual. In a way, is that kind of the long and short of it?
Well, spoiler, Chris. Yeah, I mean, sort of, absolutely, yeah. But I mean, there's more to it than that.
Well, you can watch the trailer and get that from the trailer.
Yeah, but that whole trope of the Hansel and Gretel thing. We've seen that over and over again. Kids getting trapped in situations. The two kids wandering in the woods or whatever, and they end up in a house, like M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit, which was a really good underplayed movie. Yeah, about two kids that end up in a house with some parents or grandparents that are pretty kooky. So, yeah, it's a good film. If you like horror films, yes, but be really, really cool who you let in the room about watching that. Because seriously, above and beyond things like The Exorcist and things like that, this is just a really disturbing, because it involves children. It involves violence with children and at children. So it's tough, man. It's real tough. Your mom couldn't handle it. I don't blame her at all.
Honestly,
I don't blame her at all.
That's usually where I draw the line with horror movies. Is kids are usually that, like, you don't mess with kids in horror movies,
right?
Unless it's a quick vanishing sequence.
And then go ahead. And then where we get up more closer here, we got the new John Wick film, Ballerina, which is doing pretty well at the basket. Have you seen that?
No,
so
I have yet to see a single John Wick film.
I just did the same thing last week. I hadn't watched any of them, so
and yet you binged every single
one. We watched the first three, so I'm a little behind.
Are you loving it?
They're good.
Yeah.
I would say the third one was the better one that in my opinion,
excessive action. To be honest with you, from start to finish.
Well, because I'm a foo-foo kind of guy, I went to see The Venetian Scheme, which was really good. The new Wes Anderson film, which I loved.
Honestly, I'm very curious of that movie.
You'll never look at hand grenades the same way again.
The basketball scene that they put in the trailer looks hilarious.
The basketball scene overall with Bryan Cranston and
Del Toro,
Tom Hanks.
Del Toro's in it too.
Del Toro is the main guy. So you got
I know what you're talking about.
Bryan Cranston, Tom Hanks, and Benicio del Toro playing basketball with each other. It's fantastic.
And the guy from Venom, and it's
right.
Oh wow!
All right, so and then we got caught up now, which is How to Train Your Dragon, the remake, the live remake. That's doing very well at the box office. And once again, Disney's on a roll. Don't listen to anything.
But that's not Disney. You. That's a good.
Oh, that's right. It's an IMAX. It's a Pixar.
Yeah.
So you're right. So they're not tied together anymore.
We're gonna do that this weekend.
You know what's funny to me is that because all of these Disney live action remakes are falling flat on their face, and now DreamWorks is coming out and throwing this one out there. So I'm assuming
it's weird
answering.
It's weird that they timed it like that, because then this weekend you got ELO, which is
horrible,
which is another I'm lonely and nobody understands me, and I go into a fantasy realm and find another creature that's lonely, and we become friends and then have some sort of adventure, and then ultimately it teaches us how to be nice to each other. Great. That's a nice formula, and they do it a lot in those films. But I have a feeling this movie's going to do pretty well. It's getting okay reviews.
No, I think it's going to smash it.
Oh, really?
It doesn't look like it'll hit with kids.
I have yet to see a trailer for it. Like
I've seen too many of them.
Yeah,
but
and they look like every other Pixar film you've ever seen. If you didn't know any better, you'd swear it was like a sequel to Inside Out.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yes.
But I know that 28 years later comes out.
Going to this afternoon to see that.
I want to see
you guys
that
wanna
one.
Join me, absolutely.
But I am looking forward to next week because that F1 movie is coming out. I've been I circled that one when I looked down the list. That one looks like it'll be a good movie.
It does look. The F1 film comes out next week, and it does look like a good film. I'm not much of a car racing guy, or movies, but I've liked a lot of the
Gran Turismo,
Ford versus Ferrari. Ford versus Ferrari, I really liked. It was different, but it was a good movie. But unfortunately, F1's going to get crushed next week by Megan 2.0.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's going to happen.
Why
Absolutely.
is
think
this
so?
movie so look,
that movie's going to just absolutely take off.
F1 starring Brad Pitt and the guy from Snowfall, who's a fantastic actor, and I consistently forget his name, and it bugs me. Up against this dumb horror robot movie. Now she's a super spy for the government. I'm like, what is this?
You weren't. I liked the original Megan. I liked it more than I hate to admit that I thought it didn't take itself too seriously.
It's a
and I
ripoff
really
of
enjoy
the remake
robot.
of Chucky, which sucked.
Yeah, kind of.
How does that make sense?
I can't deny any of that. But when she's dancing the whole way and then takes a guy's head off, I'm sold. Here's my money.
Well, we'll move over to July because I know the first one that comes out July 2nd is the Jurassic World that looks awesome. I stopped watching the Jurassic World movies or Jurassic Park movies, but this one actually pulled me.
See, this one lost me because
I know why Steven likes this movie.
Yep.
I can tell you 2 words why Steven likes this movie. Scarlett Johansson.
Yep, and the graphics look awesome.
See, but where they lost me on this movie is the giant alien dinosaur that they made that has 6 arms and like it's a cross between a T-Rex and a pterodactyl.
It's about as realistic about dinosaurs as the original Jurassic Park was.
Exactly.
It was not realistic in any way, shape, or form. They're just fantasy films about dinosaurs or animals that act like Freddy Krueger. I mean, they're just relentless. They don't even shy away from a shotgun.
At least,
you know, an animal that if you blast a shotgun anywhere near its face, it's going to look at you and go, I'm going to eat you anyway. Never. Not even polar bears do that. I mean,
is it a sequel though? Do I have to watch the Jurassic Worlds?
I hear they're brand new. I hear these are just.
I really tapped out of Jurassic Park, and
exactly.
I'm not much of a fan.
That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these films, I mean, do you two kind of agree or just getting excessive with the amount of sequels we're getting? Like, because Jurassic Park,
they're out of ideas, and
it's
one of the things that James Gunn just said in a recent interview with, I think it was Variety or Hollywood Reporter, and he was talking about how is right now. He says movies, they'll greenlight a project because they like the sound of it and everything else. They will construct sets, they will hire actors, they will hire a director, they will hire everything else, and they will do all those things without a screenplay being in place. So they're writing it as they go, which is why we're ending up with so many of these horrible films. It's a really factory push from a lot of these industry insiders that want these films out, and they don't care that the script is not good, or they don't care, which is why James Gunn is making a stand with us. He's struggling right now with how he's going to reintroduce Batman into the new DC universe, and we'll get to that in a minute because we have Superman coming up here. But the fact is that they're just not writing scripts like they used to anymore. They're not a script doesn't fall onto a producer's desk and then he says, wow, we can really make something out of this. A concept now falls on a producer's desk and they say, oh yeah, and they throw $100,000 at it and say, build me the sets, do this, and get it done.
And they build the puzzle by then.
Right, exactly. They built the puzzle without actually having a picture there. So it's really crazy.
I didn't even that didn't even really come into my head. I didn't realize that was the case, that this is the route that they've been going, because I don't know, and again, I'm going to get a little weebish here because I am an anime fan, but anybody who is an anime fan that knows how these things get made, they're all based off of mangas, which are comic books.
Right.
And the vast majority of the ones that try to continue past where the comic ended or try to get in front of it and like find an ending before the comic did, always fall flat on your face.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it's just me knowing that is a failure and they don't see it as that way. But it's
I just dig the computer graphics and the AI and
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
no, they've
especially
made
with these
incredible
theaters.
strides with
So
that.
if
I mean,
I can go see it in D-Box or M4D or 3D or any of them, I'll jump in it just to see
if I'm
it.
going to go see a dinosaur movie, I want people eaten by dinosaurs, and I want it a lot.
Which that last
So, I
movie,
mean,
you
that's the
got
whole
nothing
point.
but that. I
Yeah,
mean, that's what I'm
exactly.
saying. And at least that dinosaur they genetically
even then,
created
it's
looked like a real dinosaur, and it looked actually scary.
Now to my moving on though, but to my detriment, I'm much older than both of you.
Vintage.
But on July 4th, there is a movie being re-released, and supposedly they're going to come out
Independence
now
Day?
with a long
Jaws?
sequel for it, a
Jaws?
long-wanted sequel for it. No, well, yes, Jaws is coming
I
out, but on
know.
July 4th, this is Spinal Tap will be
Oh,
back
nice.
in theaters.
Really?
Yes,
Sweet.
it's going to be in a limited release. So if you like, this is Spinal Tap.
Will
and
it be
you
in
want to go see it in the
Bakersfield?
theater, I don't know.
Because that's going to be the issue.
You know what?
Probably
We are
not.
no, we're getting pretty niche about that. I think Bakersfield reaches out about these kind of a movie, or these
I would
kinds
hope.
of movies, because we do have that cult classic feel here at times. So who knows?
Well, then Superman.
And the week after that is Superman. It's July 11th, and that's Superman. And I already have my tickets. Are you guys going?
I will be going.
We are
yeah,
going to.
absolutely.
We're going to LA.
Yeah,
for-
we had talked about that. He wants to do the 4D seats.
And the thing is, I guess at this point, just talking about Superman, not even necessarily with the rest of the Justice League or anything like that, the Superman films, Christopher Reeve in the original Superman the movie has always been my Superman. And I've never really had much of an issue with all the incarnations that have happened after that. But this, from the looks of it, looks more like Superman in the time I was reading Superman comic books in the 70s than anything I've seen yet, including all the details within the Fortress of Solitude and everything else. And I find it really weird that people are already bagging on it for a lot of those things, because I think it's mainly younger kids
It is.
that didn't understand what the comics were at that time, that in order to get into the Fortress of Solitude, Superman had to go get his big hidden key, which was the size of an office building, and insert it into a big lock and turn it in order to get into which was really stupid, but as kids we thought it was awesome. But these robots and Crypto and all the odd other Justice League other type characters bringing in, very much looking forward to it. Very much.
What do you expect to see differently out of Corn and Sweat playing Superman than we didn't get from Henry Cavill? You know what I mean? Like it is a character that has been constantly redone and replayed, just like Batman. But it seems like each and every time, each actor brings something different to the character and something that is different from at least the ideology of it. So what do you think that David's going to bring to this?
I really don't know until I've seen it.
Really?
The only thing that bothers me in part, and it's not really even that big a thing, but we're seeing within the trailers the Superman backlash of how dare you stop that building from falling because pieces of it fell off and crushed my uncle or whatever. It was the same stuff that Snyder addressed in the original Superman. You know, you're an alien. Are you really here to help us?
The realistic nature of being a character like this
yeah,
too,
I mean, but
society.
I mean, also we don't deal with that in the MCU. The MCU accepts that the Earth, despite the fact that they will wreck 100 cars, every time I watch like Captain America: Civil War, and Scarlet Witch goes nuts and starts throwing cars at Captain or at Iron Man, all I'm thinking is, who's going to pay for that? Who's paying for that? Really, the Avengers? You wrecked a building, you destroyed a tower. Who's paying for all of this?
Insurance companies,
but they don't care. They don't care. But in Zack Snyder, people cared. People, you know, all of a sudden you had a backlash from the. So I don't know what's more realistic or what's more in tune with it. I just know that I'm really looking forward to this Superman, and I really hope it doesn't disappoint me. Same way I feel about Fantastic Four, which comes out a couple of weeks after that. I am so.
So you're just going to skip right over the Smurfs movie? No,
we'll get to it. No. We'll get back to it.
We do not need to talk about Papa Smurf again.
Or I know what you did last summer, because I know that's just another remake.
Oh, that's
but
right.
anyways,
They're redoing that as well.
We can jump right over those.
I Know What You Did Last Summer is quite probably, as a horror fan, one of the dumbest and stupidest horror films I've ever witnessed in my life. Witnessed. There's a guy running around town with a hook for a hand that's dressed like the Gordon's fisherman, and nobody sees him, and he gets crabs all into your trunk, and then he gets them out without leaving any smell.
Well, I
and if
did
you've
say
ever
the
dealt
same
with
thing.
crabs, that's difficult with 2 hands, not just a hook hand.
It's just somebody took
It's stupid.
someone took the concept of the Scooby-Doo episode and just said, you know what? I'm going to make a movie out of
It's
that.
the same
Dude,
thing as stupid as the Scream movies, and they made how
I'll
many?
tell
of
you
those?
what, man. Put on
Yeah.
a Jason mask or a Mike Myers mask. Put a knife in your hand. Put a jumpsuit on, and try to sneak around downtown Bakersfield sometime and watch how long you last.
Yeah.
You know, somebody is gonna nab you. And the fact is, I don't like the stabby movies.
Yeah,
You're
Slashers,
just yeah. Oh, here's the next victim, and they don't
That's
know
all right.
anything, and they're looking for
they're just
garlic in the
predictable.
cabinet.
It was
they're
predictable.
fun and
Like
predictable.
I watched. I took the family to see the Final Destination one.
Yeah, you want to talk
and
about predictable?
It was gory, but it was predictable as hell. So that's we
Yeah,
all
I
had
meant
the
to.
same
Did you
thing.
see the Final Destination?
I don't care to. At this point, I'm just like, I'm.
Oh, I
over
thought
those
you were
movies.
excited to see that. I
No.
thought that was your thing.
We
No.
enjoyed it,
Did you?
but
Yeah.
it was more of just family for a couple hours. But
Yeah.
we all kind of came up with the same answer. It's like it was predictable. It was much gorier than the other ones, I'll say. But that's pretty
Those
much
movies have put a long enough lasting imprint on me.
But
so
in
I'm
between
good.
Superman and Fantastic Four, as Sparky mentioned, there's a couple of interesting films. I know what you did last summer remake, Eddington, which is there's a lot of buzz coming about Eddington and about what it's about, and I'm not going to really talk about it, but I don't think it's going to do very well at the box office. However, I'm interested to see it. And then the Smurfs the musical. Do you think Smurfs the musical is going to make
great
5
Trolls.
cents at the box office
Yes.
this week? Yeah.
yes.
Dude.
Just
no, yeah,
because
if,
I watched the last one and it was packed.
if Trolls
Brown?
makes money,
Yes,
this
exactly.
will make money.
Exactly.
Are you kidding? Like
That's a
kids
fair point.
love. the
But if we
Trolls
jump
movies.
over to July 25th, because not only the Fantastic Four movie comes out and the Happy Gilmore sequel, which we've
Which
talked
will be
about.
directly on Netflix, by
Yep.
the way.
I don't care. That movie is going to be the best movie of the summer.
And
Adam
then,
Sandler, baby.
Yeah,
all right,
never
and then
mind.
I know we're running out of time. Directly into August, there's a movie out there, One Bad Guys 2, which I'm not really interested.
Awesome.
But the remake and reboot of the Naked Gun series
Yes.
with
I
Liam
was
Neeson.
not expecting this.
Neither
I
was
saw
I.
the trailer and I
I
said,
had no
"Oh,
idea months ago that this was even a thing.
exactly."
And I squealed like a 3-year-old child when I saw it on there. I was like, no
When
way
he
they're going to
takes
try
the-
this.
the
Because
little
if they hit half the jokes
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
that the original Naked Gun had, it's still going to be a successful thing. I think a lot of people are going to turn their noses up at it, but I'm kind of looking forward to
You
it.
know what the best scene of the trailer was though? Was when all of the police officers are sitting there
crying at their
in front of
father's
pictures. It's all the original
OJ,
cast.
yeah.
The last guy's like, eh.
well, speaking of remakes, to get away from that, they recently announced that Rick Moranis is going to come out and
Yes.
do Spaceballs.
This is another movie I didn't
also-
realize they were doing.
I also squealed. The thing that struck me about the Spaceballs release was the trailer is nothing more than the scroll
yeah.
of it going, and it's very funny if you've ever seen it. But then at the very end of it, there's Mel Brooks talking to you about doing Spaceballs 2. For a guy that's 98 years old, he looks better than I do. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah.
mean? That dude for a dude pushing 100, he looks tremendous. And to have him come back as yogurt, I'm all about it, man. I'm all about that.
I'm
May
all
the
about this
Schwartz
movie
be
in
with you.
general.
Yeah. And I hope they call it the Schwartz Awakens.
But see, I am hoping. I told Steven and Sparky this yesterday when we were talking about this off air. But I'm hoping this reignites Rick Moranis and brings him back to movies in general.
I don't think it will, mainly
Come
because
on,
he's been
I
away from
need-
so long. What do you want?
Look, if we could get a remake of Little Shop of Horrors and just have him have a cameo in it, you don't have to play Maurice. Just play something in there, and we get a new Little Shop of Horrors. That would be a fantastic build for me. Like that's all I really need.
I thought if he was gonna do it, he would have done it with Ghostbusters, and
He's not that big of a character in Ghostbusters.
but they
though.
just overlooked him in the movies.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't want to come back. 'cause
Exactly.
it-
And he's recently
he's-
said that he had no interest in doing movies ever
Yeah.
again. So I was
But
just
for
happy
Mel
that he's gonna
Brooks,
do
for Mel
Spaceballs.
Brooks, he'll come out of retirement. I mean, that's
Exactly.
fine.
yeah,
But I don't think there's any better. I'm sorry, Rick Moranis has been in a ton of great flicks. But if you want to see Rick Moranis just absolutely fly off the handle as a great comic actor, along with another great comic actor, see My Blue Heaven with Steve
Ooh.
Martin. Steve Martin and Rick Moranis in that movie are absolutely hysterical.
I don't
It's
think I've seen
great.
that one.
Yeah, it's about a guy who Steve Martin plays a a mob boss who has to go into the witness protection program, but he doesn't want to leave that lifestyle behind, right?
Mhm.
He's really flamboyant and show off, and he's got this weird Brooklyn accent and everything. And Rick Moranis is the FBI agent who is assigned to kind of keep tabs on him. It's absolutely hysterical. It's really, really good.
I'm gonna have to find that one.
With our I every time I talk to Hop, I start my list of movies I could put on my refrigerator with all the other movies. But before we step away and talk with Snacks about the NBA Finals streaming, what have you been watching? Anything that's good? I just recently started watching the show Tires on Netflix.
Tires is great. Isn't Tires one of the funniest things
hilarious.
you've ever
really
seen?
is.
It is just it's garage tire shop humor.
Yes.
That's all I can
Anything-
say. If you've ever worked in that kind of environment
Yeah.
at all, that is exactly what it's like. I mean,
And he reminds me
everybody's
of Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Shane
a lot
Gillis
of that.
just
Absolutely.
reminds me of that Kenny Powers.
Andrew Schultz makes everything funny to me.
Yeah.
There's to this day nothing that man has been a part of that I have not.
Well, the
enjoyed.
owner's son is the one that gets me every time. He plays that character so well. But I
They're
know you
all
watch
good.
a bunch of different stuff. I just recently finished
Murderbot is a great show on Apple TV.
the Pee Wee
The
documentary.
Pee-wee
Was
documentary. Make sure you see the Cheech and Chong documentary whenever it's on pay-per-view right now. If you don't want to pay for it, it'll be on some streaming
It'll be
service.
on Amazon
Watch it.
eventually.
And trying to think what else I'm catching
It's
up
on Prime.
Is it on Prime right now?
Yep.
I thought so.
I
See,
think
no,
you
is
have
it?
to
I thought
pay
you were
$4 or
the one that told me
$5 for it though.
that.
Yeah.
I'll pay $5.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And as far as the other stream, the Pee Wee documentary we already talked about, which is there. I really don't know what else is going on out there. I'm trying to think what else.
Well, you got
I've
me watching that Daredevil, which we're almost done with the season, but then I realized, well, there's 2 or 3 more seasons that were before that.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, watch them at your leisure. Once again, it kind of reset Daredevil, and Daredevil Born Again was what we're talking about in the MCU, and it's a TV series that picks off for the original Daredevil.
It's good.
Came up.
I loved the
Vincent
Netflix series.
D'Onofrio as Kingpin
Is the best. That's my reason I
he's
watch
my
it.
number one villain MCU so far. I think he does a great job in that role, and I really like the fact that they're going to do this on a yearly basis, at least for the next couple of years, of getting the Daredevil series out, because they're filming like crazy right now, bringing the Defenders back and all of that. So yeah,
that's
very
funny because
exciting.
my son is he was always into the Avengers movies, and now with these out, he's like, hey, can we watch the X-Men movies and all these? Line them up. I have them. But where are you watching 28 Years Later?
I'm probably going to go down to the place with the IMAX.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Reading
guys are
Cinema?
doing it.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to bring up because I bounce around to different theaters.
Yeah,
and
I've been
I
doing
just
that too.
recently saw that Edwards has cleaned up a couple theaters.
I was there for the Phoenician Scheme.
How
and
is it?
I can tell you the seats now. I always thought the best seats in Bakersfield were at the Maya because they recline. They're like big recliners. They're
Yeah.
very comfortable. And now the Edwards Cinema has those.
Really?
One of the other things that's interesting about Edwards Cinema, I don't know what's going on over there. They had one entire wing completely closed. And it looks like did I read right? They're putting an IMAX in there?
Yeah. They're revamping. They got a some type of donation or grant that they're cleaning up, and they're doing it in halves.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're making an IMAX or if they're just simply redoing those theaters, whatever. But the fact is that
That's
the
awesome.
Edwards Cinema is back, is cleaning up their act a little bit. So yeah, I visit there. I visit the Valley Plaza, and I visit the.
I like the IMAX. I like the D box when I go to Maya. I mean, I even like the one right around the corner with the 3D. I mean,
Yeah,
those
I end
seats
up-
are pretty cool.
the D boxes. I end up bleeding internally after I see an
Well,
action
then you
movie,
wouldn't
know
like
what I mean?
the 40X, but we're gonna make 2 trips down to LA just because of the Superman and the Fantastic Four. But we appreciate your time, brother.
I
Always
appreciate
good to
always
see
being
ya.
asked on. You guys are the best. Thank you.
Thank
And
you, sir.
keep it tuned in. We'll have Snacks from down the hall from Hits 93.1 talking about the NBA Finals tonight right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Give me credit for this song one time. It is. Still stand by this. It's never entered. No better entry. We gotta talk NBA Finals Game 6 as Thunder looks to wrap it up tonight against the Pacers starting at 5:30 p.m. We got our guy next on the line to talk about it. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. How are you guys?
Okay, it's our first matter of business, though. Did we get the call?
No, I didn't get the call. I'm still kind of bummed about it. But
sorry, buddy.
we have another chance. We got another chance at it next year.
Okay.
They 9. It was a big class though. 9 officials got called this year, so you see 9 different officials on the summer league game this year.
True. Well, hopefully you will be one that is chosen in next year's decisions, my friend, because albeit I know you're one of the better referees we got, so I would assume that you get the call again for next season's poll. But I want to get your thoughts on this final game of the series. Obviously, the Thunder are looking to wrap it up, but the Pacers are probably looking to play without their star player and Tyrese Halliburton. Do you think they have any chance at all?
You know, some teams play better without their star. And they play a little bit more loose. So I think they actually have a chance to win. I honestly, if you want my true heart, I think OKC wraps it up, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers won. Because some teams actually play better without their star because some people step up.
Mm-hmm.
What's the little guard that comes off the bench? He always gives them a spark.
TJ McConnell. I expect him to have a game. But
yeah, I feel like he'll have a game because you get, and the reason why I say that because you get so used to preparing for one player.
Right.
Or like a good starting five, or the ones that's going to play enough. And so when you take them out of the lineup, that's why you see a lot of teams having a hard time when somebody goes out, like a Tatum or something like, well, then how do I guard this now?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so used to guarding that. So I unless they can make adjustments, I can see this being a close game, but I think OKC is going to pull it out.
So if OKC does lock up this series tonight, do you think that this is the start of something for them? Do you believe that they'll be back again next year even better? Or is this going to be one of the cases where it was like a young team that played over their skis and they may have a rough time getting back?
They'll be back if they're not a young team asking for young money.
Yeah,
you know, once everybody wants a championship, they want to start going off to different teams and get a little bit more money, and which they should. I mean, but still, I think a lot of people just don't stay. A lot of athletes don't stay together long enough, and I think that was a good thing about the Bulls and them back then. They just stayed together long enough, and that's why they won so many championships. So if they stay together, yes. If not, of course, we know how that goes.
Well, I mean, you have the opportunity to do that here, obviously, with Shea and Jalen and stuff like that. But if it really came down to it, would you think that they would pay one guy more than the other? Well, not Shea and Jalen, I mean, but more of like if it came down to Jalen Williams or, say, Chet Holmgren, who would you end up taking? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you got to take Shea and let Shea go off and do what he do.
Right.
I think with him, he just has to work on being more consistent. We know what we're going to get from Shea. With Holmgren, you don't know if you're going to get 7 block shots in one night or just 2 rebounds. We just don't.
See, that's what I've said. And for a 7-footer to go out there and not have double-digit rebounds just baffles me. I don't get it. Like, I would expect you to be the one pulling in everything.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's like another Kevin Durant where he just will never look strong, but probably is strong. I don't know. But I think that's always going to be his downfall, is his strength and being consistent. And once he becomes consistent, he's one of the elite power forwards in the NBA.
Oh, absolutely. But again, his game bugs me. I call him the sloth because he has to play at like such a slow pace in order to be consistent on offense. And I just don't feel like that fits a lot of teams in the NBA anymore.
No, it doesn't. And the great thing about it, when he has a game, they have a game.
Right. Right. So it's obviously, if you can put it together, it's a good look for you. But going into tonight, though, obviously a lot of people on ESPN are leaning towards the Pacers. Personally, I think if the Pacers can get anywhere close to 120 points, that they could potentially sneak out of this game 6 and move on to a game 7. What do you think?
Yeah. Again, who's their second scorer with Halliburton off the floor? Siakam. Somebody got to get the ball to him. There's only so many times he can get the ball off the rim and just go. Hopefully my guy that comes off the bench gives him a spark. But outside of that, who's a scorer? So I'm really worried about who's going to score for Indiana if you don't have Halliburton scoring tonight. That's my main thing.
Right. No, and I agree with you. But I also have a officiating question for you, but it's more about like an official. So I don't know if I should. Have you heard about the Scott Foster situation?
That's every year.
Every year. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on this whole thing? Because obviously you being an official, I personally think it's just like we said on the show, if you're going to do it consistently. And that's what Foster does. At least he does it consistently. Like, but
I miss a story. If you can just briefly give me.
So Foster is just getting a lot of grief because of essentially calling too many ticky-tack fouls and then being completely blind to other ones. And at this point right now, he is essentially the only referee in the NBA people know by name, and it's not for good reasons. So it's like, the question is more like, in these types of games, would you as a referee be more of somebody who calls things down the middle, or would you more be, I'm sorry, not call things down the middle, but call it exactly like you would in the regular season? Or because it's the finals, do you kind of just got to let him have it?
Well, it's funny we're talking about this because he might be the first $1 million referee.
Yeah, no kidding.
Everybody hates him. And honestly, if you go back and look at his ratings, they get graded every game. So if you go back and look at his grading scale, year in and year out, he has the best grading scale out of everybody. So it's kind of hard to go against him. I will say some of the calls are ticky-tack, but if you go back and watch the game film, they end up being the right call. So it's kind of if you know the rules and the mechanics of the situation, and like why does he have that whistle? That would be a whole different radio broadcast.
Yes.
But that's just been Scott Foster his career though, because he just really sticks to mechanics. And sometimes he out there doing his own thing. And when it was funny when I was at camp, they was like, yeah, they actually told him to calm down a little bit because he was coming out of his area and calling in front of other officials. So it's one of those things like, yeah, that's LeBron. You want to say something to it, but yeah, that's just LeBron. So it's like one of those. That's Scott Foster. At least he's consistent,
right?
And we have this thing as officials, like if you guys are going to be consistently good or consistently bad, but tonight choose one, so we just know where we're going to be at.
Yeah, just be consistent.
Yeah, and you can't be mad at because he's consistent.
Well, keeping it in with the officiating, I know we talked a couple days ago about the whole WNBA and Caitlin Clark and the rough game that they had with officiating, which turned into a couple of technicals, a couple of ejections, and I just wanted to know whether it's from a fan experience or from a fan side or just officiating. But do you see a major difference between the officiating in the NBA up against the WNBA's officiating?
No, because the NBA has been around much longer, so you know what to expect from the NBA. Now that WNBA is gaining traction, people have more eyes on it. I think it's we always forget that NBA and WNBA at the end of the day is entertainment, and so when you have those type of interactions, you don't want to see it, but it actually looks good for the league because now people are tuning in. I do think in that game particularly, they could have handled things a little earlier, like with the Mabry situation coming in and pushing Caitlin on the floor. They should have had probably a flagrant one or a different type of technical. So I think that kind of caused what happened later in the game with the hard foul on the Mercury player to happen. So it's things that you can do earlier in the game to eliminate all those type of problems just by just getting rid of folks. Like for me, I'm very super calm and chill, but once you get on my nerves or I see that you're going to be a problem to people. Because I don't want to be here longer than I have to. I drove 2 hours to a game. You out here doing stupid stuff, and you're making the game longer, and I got to go write a report. So now you're pissing me off. So it really the officials, the shorter term answer, you can set the tone of the game and let players know where you're at. And I think they can do a better job of kind of setting the tone. And I'm pretty sure that's what they talked about in their post game.
I'm sure that was probably the best answer I've heard out of that because, everybody was, it's because it's Caitlin, or no, it's because they want entertainment, the viewership, and we talked about it just as fans, as casual fans, is like, yeah, that is going to bring in some more viewers just because, the entertainment side of it. But as a basketball fan, I mean, as the coaches came out, they were just all blaming the officiating.
Yeah, and look at what's the difference between that altercation and the big three altercation with Dwight Howard and Lance
Right.
Stevens.
Exactly.
We were excited to see that one, but everybody's like, why are women fighting? Women fight every day. Like, so what's the or have argue every day? So what's the difference? It's good for the sport. Now, granted, you don't want to see nobody get hurt and get swung on and have a bloody nose. It's not UFC, but you want to. When you go to YMCA, you see dudes get each other face. You see a little compassion about the game, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But as officials, there are things we can do earlier in the game to eliminate that.
I just don't get the animosity against Caitlyn, to be honest with you. That's just my gripe against it. I agree with you, though, that it keeps people's eyes on the product and obviously keeps people talking about it. So in the long end of the spectrum, it's actually a good thing. But
I get the animosity. Well, look, watching as an official, she does complain a lot.
Does she? Okay.
Yes, she does complain a lot. And as a player, you see that, and you want to keep reminding her that they're not going to baby you.
Right.
Because of your name.
You're big sistering her in a way.
Yeah, you're big sistering her. And so you kind of keep warning her, like, hey, you either toughen up or figure it out. So I can see both sides of it. If you watch her game, she does complain a lot. She wants every little ticky-tack foul. And you can't. It just doesn't work that way.
I mean, I could see that. I could see that being the case. We called out for that yesterday for people to chime in and let us know what they thought about the entire situation. As somebody who pulls in 55% of your viewership and stuff like that, I was like, if this is a jealousy thing, we need to nip that in the now, because that's getting everybody paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't see an issue with that part of it. But if it is like, it makes a lot more sense to me, at least on the court, that it's more about her constant complaining about no calls and stuff like that. I could see that being the case.
Yeah, and when it comes across like that, it kind of becomes frustrating, one for the official, but really frustrating for the players, because now if you do start calling the ticky-tack foul for her, now it becomes like one of those, well, I can't even say Jordan, because that was back in the 90s, everybody was getting beat up.
Right.
I can't find a player like to really compare it to, but yeah, I think that's where the players will probably come from. Like, hey, if you're going to baby her, then baby all of us.
Right, exactly. And or at least the big stars like Asia and stuff like that need to be getting the calls as well.
The same treatment.
Last question real quick before we let you go, my friend. This story broke a little bit yesterday, and we're about to get into it on the other side of our break here. But what are your thoughts on LeBron coming after ring chasers and saying that the entire thing is just dumb and you'll never be satisfied?
He said that? That's no way.
I swear to you. I swear to you. Look it up. LeBron James came out and said that ring chasing does not make sense to him and that you will never be satisfied with it. And that
he said that on his podcast, right? Yeah, he the one started it.
Right. Thank you. I was just about to get into that. I was like, look, as a Cavaliers fan, I can honestly say when you left for Miami and say not 2, not 3, not 4, that's you saying I'm ring chasing. Like, I don't know exactly how to explain that further.
And that's the one thing I appreciate about this OKC and Indiana series. There's no, like, now granted, they're going to be superstars. Right now, we're not calling them superstars on the team. Like, you don't have a LeBron, you don't have a Steph Curry, you don't have a Durant, or any of these type of players on your team. So to see these teams in the finals is kind of like refreshing, because you don't need superstars to make it there.
Right.
And every time you add 2 to 3 superstars, you never see them deep in the playoffs.
Right.
So I would hope they would stop ring chasing and go to a team that they can build around them. Some of them are too old now, but build around them and go that route. But he can't talk about somebody ring chasing when he started the whole thing.
And honestly, I think that's what he meant by what his comments was more of, because he's saying it's never enough because of the fans saying no matter how many I win, specifically him, that it'll never be enough for them. But it makes me laugh that you're sitting there saying that ring chasing as a whole is a bad thing. It's like, dude, that's literally your entire career. You went 4 for 10 in the finals. And then later in the conversation, he's talking to Steve about how he doesn't see it as a bad thing that he has lost 6 finals, because rings are a team accomplishment, which they are. I'm not sitting there saying they're not. But for you to sit there and say that your 6 losses in the finals don't mean anything to your legacy is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
But we're going to get into that on the other side of the break. Snacks, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We will see you later on this afternoon, and you have a great week.
Always, fellas. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother. We got to take a break real quick, pay some bills one final time today. This is the Early Bird Special on the ESPN Bakersfield 101.1 FM, 1230 a.m. It's literally my favorite. Number one on the list.
It's the worst one, but it just got played out.
Yeah, I could agree to that. This one did get played out a lot. So did Numb.
Yes.
Numb got played out a lot, but I don't know. Faint is always. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. One final segment before we get out of here for the day. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9 as usual. What's tomorrow, Sparky? We got Jen Bowden coming in and talk about Battle of the Bartenders.
Talk about Battle of the Bartenders, and we have our boy Chris Flail coming in at 8 o'clock.
Right. I need
And
to talk to him.
for his sake, he's probably hoping that the Pacers win.
Yeah.
So
is a little bit more,
We
but
can still talk about it, but I think it's over tonight.
I have to agree. But I mean, we can still talk to him about how it ended, tomorrow. So
He's going to complain about the officiating, or
which is fine.
Doris.
A lot of people are.
OKC is favored
is Foster
6.5.
Is Foster? Yes, they are, which doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you. Is Foster part of the referee crew?
I
Do
have
we know?
no idea.
Because if Foster's part of the referee crew, I can promise you right now, Flail will have his comments tomorrow. So, but real quick, before we get out of here, we mentioned it with Snacks a little bit, but I don't have nearly enough time to really get all of our thoughts out of this. Plus, we have some text messages we have to get to as well before we get done. But LeBron James's thoughts about ring culture is what he called it, and the chasing of rings and all of that. Long and short of it for me, I kind of said it with Snacks. I kind of find it a little bit ridiculous that it's coming from LeBron, who literally your entire career was chasing rings and chasing Michael and all of that type of stuff, which is understandable. That's the long and short of why you play sports, is to win the championship of whatever league you're in. That's literally the whole point of every single season. You go out there to win the championship. So ring culture is sports, in my opinion. I will never sit here and give grief to a player for wanting to win a ring. I will give you grief for, like, Kevin Durant for leaving one great team for another great team. That's a little excessive. But for LeBron to come out and say that it's never enough and that it shouldn't be a blemish on his record to have 6 finals losses, this is coming from a Cavalier fan. Yes, it does. It's a blemish. I'm sorry. It's just the way it works. I don't know how to explain that to you. You are what your record says you are. That's where I'm going to leave it for the day. We'll get more into that probably on the other side tomorrow. But let's hear some text messages.
Some texts. Well, the first one says Hopkins will likely have just a memorable season as a Raven as Des Bryant did when he was in Baltimore.
Whoa. Wow.
The next one says, go Pacers. I think they'll force a game 7.
I'm hoping for it. I think everybody on this show is hoping for it. I'm just saying I'm kind of with Sparky here, where I'm starting to feel like the latter might be the case. I don't know.
The next one says, found your show this week. I'm enjoying it. Love listening to you guys. Keep it up.
Appreciate that. Again, go follow us on all social media as well. TikTok, YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
We're everywhere.
We are everywhere. And if you have any stories or anything that you would like us to cover or talk about, feel free to reach out to us on there. We will see every single message, and we try to answer to you guys as much as we can as well. We're both incredibly busy during the day, but we will get around to you, I promise. So if you have any stories that you want to hear us talk about, or anything, any comments on a story that you heard us talk about, even if you're watching this on YouTube right now and it's a day late, text in. We will gladly answer your text as soon as we can see it on the show. It'll be on the show, I promise.
The other one says, go Dodgers. Who's the Padres' daddy? That's right.
At
the Dodgers
this point,
already won the series against the Padres.
But see, here's the thing. Consistency is key in baseball, baby. You got to do it at the end of the year, too. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I got to say. But that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, join us back here tomorrow for a Friday edition of the Early Bird Special, 7 to 9 a.m., and go follow us on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. We're all over the place. Go follow us and reach out to us on there. We'd love to talk to you guys and cover whatever you want us to talk about. Until then, we got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.